Hello, slow parenting family. Welcome to another episode of your interesting, exciting, engaging, and educating program. This slow parenting program. My name is Richie Adewusi. Welcome. On today's show, we're going to be looking at another very important issue um, that parents need to consider in our parenting duties, parenting jobs. The issue of teamwork. We can't overemphasize teamwork. It's very important. And today we are looking at what happens, what could happen when couples, partners, uh, husbands and wives um, choose not to play as a team. The consequences are not pleasant, usually. And then guess what? No matter how much is hidden, no matter how much time goes by, eventually it shows up in the larger society. So what we're saying today is if couples refuse to work as team members for one team in a family, the consequences eventually show up in society. Because when the result of that refusal to work as team members of the same team eventually show up, other kinds of teams grow in the larger society. There are, you now have supporters club for and against. The breakdown starts. But the people that usually experience the breakdown firsthand, you know, at the beginning, at the moment, the instant, inside of the family are usually the children. Okay. And the children also don't function in a vacuum, either at the moment or subsequently in their own adult lives or in their own relationships with other people as they go. Grow to go to school, grow to start work, well, grow to go to school at whatever level, then grow to start work, grow to start their own relationships. The dysfunctionality that would have happened as they grow up, if they did experience any of such, ultimately get to play roles in their own relationships with other people. That's the societal mix in all of this. And nobody is spared any of those. Either those who are going to become onlookers or become social media commentary commentators, contributors, followers, ultimately, ultimately join camps or peak camps. And then you have something that should have been beautiful, that should have been celebrated, now become things that, people wear long faces over. People recoil in disbelief over some of the outcomes of that situation. Disbelief because sometimes some people actually make a good habit of living in the closet for very long times. Living in the closet as in covering things up as it concerns their relationship in a home. But sooner than later, the dysfunctionalities show up in the public domain. Because, number one, the children, remember the issue here is parenting. The children at some point would now either have to start their own lives, their own family, and there will be demands, needs, depending on who wants to play along, get the team going, or okay, now this is my time to show that there was no team at any time. So here it is. At this point, I want to welcome Mrs. Adewusi Shola. Mrs. Shola, we've missed you. Welcome. It's been such a long time in the program where we've missed you. Welcome, Mrs. Shola. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's been some logistics here and there.
Don't worry, don't defend. It's okay. You are doing parenting duties. That's the important thing.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yes, you are parenting duties. Either as a surrogate parent or, you are doing parental duties. So welcome back. Welcome
Thank you
back.
so much. I
Today
appreciate it.
we are looking at, challenging issues that develop out of partners refusing to play as members of the same team in a home, in a marriage, in a partnership. I want us to look at a backdrop to this. There's a story that has, acquired certain attention on the social media. Is the issue of the daughter of one of Nigeria's foremost movie producers, Fred Amata, who got married, and the father was left out of the marriage. Even while he knew about the relationship, the couple went to visit him. There are photographs of all of those online. But when it came to the actual ceremony itself, the marriage, the mother walked the bride down the aisle. First, let's be clear. I've followed this. I have read so much. I've had to contribute at one or two places, but I'm like, no. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. We are Africans. We are Nigerians. Traditionally, that is a taboo. Regardless of whatever other situations we want to attach, no matter how we want to look at it, no matter how modern we get, we are who we are. No matter who we are copying, we are who we are. Okay? And I will give personal examples to buttress what, as we go on in the program, what I'm saying here. The fact that you had an issue in your relationship should not stretch to your children. I will give the reasons for that. They are your children today. They will become someone else's spouses tomorrow. They will become some other person's fathers and mothers tomorrow. You cannot give what you don't have. We take from our learning to express ourselves. Okay? So, before I continue along those lines, let me bring Mrs. Ishola in to ask, under what circumstances would it be right for any parent to be, excluded, as it were, from landmark ceremonies in the lives of their children? Mrs. Shola.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Nice to be here again. And this topic is actually timely, and I'm happy it's coming at this time also. You see, there's no circumstance except the other parent dies. And even if the other parent dies, the parent has relatives. You understand what I'm saying? So there is no justification for it. Some of these ideas, um, fashions that we import, even abroad, I don't think it's right for the parents or any parent to be, conspicuously absent, purposely, intentionally excluded from that kind of ceremony. It's, for me, you just said it, for me, it's a taboo. It's not something that is right, especially if there are no concrete justification for it. And the only concrete justification is when if that parent dies. And of course, if the parent dies, you go to in case of the father, for instance, the family of the father, anybody from that side can do the function of the father. For you to purposely exclude the father of the bride, the father of the groom on that particular day is very, very absurd. It's not acceptable. It's very, very absurd. Personally, it's not something that I welcome any day, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shreya. Let me stretch it a little bit further. Let's say a mother knows everything you've said and is aware of those issues and is decided on following through with what tradition says, what culture says. And the child says, no, I don't want him there. What should the mother do?
If the child says he or she doesn't want the father there, we're talking about the father here now. It could be either of them. But if the child says it, so you have to sit the child down, ask the child, what are the issues? And let me tell you the truth, no matter the issues, on that particular day, that child needs the father's blessing, whether you like it or not. On that particular day. Because you see, apart from the fact that we're Africans, we're talking about a father that brought you to the world. You understand? I mean, biblically, traditionally, morally, it is blessing. Even if it is, God bless you, God bless your marriage. You see, I don't see the justification for it. And especially, maybe at this juncture, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but at this juncture, I also want to appeal to our women, our mommies, to our mothers, to be careful what they pump into their children. I think that is actually the decisive fact.
It could be both ways. It could actually be both ways.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It could be both ways. But I just said something now. I'm looking at it from the father's perspective. Okay. It could be both ways. But we parents should be careful what we pump into our children about the other person. We should be very careful. When you're having squabbles, very definitely you have squabbles. When you're having your squabbles and qualms, please leave the children out of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would tell a story here to buttress my point about saying it could be both ways.
Yeah.
When my first daughter was going to get married, I called her stepmother, okay, who was my wife then, earlier on I said the society and then the children themselves, they are going to start their own families. You need to always help them to build well, to build right, in spite of your own missteps. Okay? And that's why I'm telling this story. When that ceremony, when all the other traditional issues had been met and all of that, the introduction, the Yoruba introduction, marriage processes had gone through. As we're planning the wedding proper, the traditional wedding proper, and then, of course, the church wedding, I called the stepmother. I said, please, in Nigeria and the Yoruba people, very festive, very colorful people when it gets to ceremonies. There's
Oh,
something they call the Ashwebi,
yeah.
the uniforms for doing the ceremonies. The whole families have to appear gaily dressed. In most cases, family sets, French sets in same uniform. That's what they call the Ashwebi in the Yoruba culture. And I said to her, please, I would want us to, the mother of the child, I would want her to be dressed in the same, okay, outfit that we are going to be dressed for any level of that entire ceremony, please. It wasn't something I took for granted. That's why I said it's both ways. You see, in this whole thing, communication is key. It's key, it's important. Okay? And I gave my reason. I said, please, I do not want anything secular or spiritual to hold this girl's life down in terms of her new family, whether spoken or done publicly or secretly. So let's give honor to everyone involved. Someone gave birth to her as a mother. So, and that happened. Well, it was funny. It was very funny during the ceremony itself. It was very funny. That happened. During the traditional ceremony, the Yorubas have this thing about having somebody they call alaga, right? It's like an MC for the ceremonies, vast in coordinating everything. So that coordinator of the traditional thing will say, where is the mother of this child? Both mothers would come out. And most people who knew us didn't know any difference, didn't know nothing about there being any difference. Okay? Never, a lot of people who attend that ceremony never knew that it was not Fola that gave birth to Bidin until that day. And for me, that was like clearing any debris that could have impaired. You could have left the mother there, is just there as a spectator in her daughter's wedding. She was not my wife, but then you give honor. This is what we're saying. This is tradition now. Okay? I'm not saying that what I did was traditional. I don't know anywhere it's written that that's it. But then there are things you also do to clear up any misgivings. And that was why I did that. And I explained it. I don't want anybody to hold my daughter down physically or spiritually, saying I was not honored. I didn't say anybody would have done that, but I just didn't want that to come up. And it was done. Now, what do we now say to a husband and a wife? Yes, you went through a divorce. Okay, yeah. There were children in the relationship. This particular child now takes the partner to the father to say, Daddy, this is the person I'm going to marry. And we have pictures. We can witness all of that. And then what could have happened? Professor Wale, you're welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon.
You're welcome.
Good evening, sir.
You're welcome, Professor Wale.
Good evening.
So, Professor Wale, we are looking at the scenario where a parent would decide to in this case, the particular case we are looking at now is a mother who ignored, or I don't know whether that's too strong, who did not involve the father, okay? Yeah. The father of her daughter in the wedding ceremony. The father was informed. We have it on record that the young couple went to visit him. They took photographs, the young man took wine as traditionally required to the father, I'm going to marry your daughter. But on the day of the wedding itself, the mother of the bride now walks the bride down the aisle. What kind of situation should warrant that, sir?
Well, I think I saw the picture. I read that story online. While the father even showed the picture of the bride and the son coming to him. But on the day of the wedding, he was left out. Well, there will be a lot of, when it comes to family, there are a lot of, in Yoruba, we call it egbin. That is decadence. Quite a lot of things that would lead to one thing or the other. And in my language also, they always say that husbands should be careful not to wrong their wives. And that even though she may have forgiven you, she's going to wait for you somewhere in future. That we have had it, we have seen it. But then there will have been a lot of undertone, which we cannot, we just postulate on this call. Because if the father supported the relationship and then on the day of the wedding, he was not informed, I would also like to ask the father that is the father also making contact with the mother of his son concerning the wedding? Are they talking regularly? Is he getting involved in it, or is he just staying aloof and saying that when the time comes they will call him? Or it depends. So we cannot just blame the mother like that.
Nobody is blaming anybody here. We are looking at this.
I'm coming. I'm just postulating. So there will have been a lot of undercurrent and undertone that may have led to that. But then we also need to look at the father and ask him questions after the boy, either before, even and after. If the relationship is not that smooth before, did he use the occasion of the wedding or the so-called wedding to make amends and then call the mother of the...
They were divorced.
I know they were divorced. I read it. I know. I'm just postulating. These are just I read the story. I read everything that the father said, all the things that happened, but I don't want to use it on this call. So there are questions to ask. Whether the father was in contact concerning the wedding, not really being in contact because they are divorced, concerning that wedding, and whether they are really communicating on the wedding. And I'm sure they are not communicating. That's why he doesn't know. He doesn't know when the wedding took place, and then
sir, I still need to I need to comment here. Regardless of the planning or him or being involved or not, the planning went on. Okay, they fixed a date, they picked a venue, they picked a time. Okay, whether they were in contact or not, whether he was planning with them or not, would it have been too much to say this is the day of this wedding? Sir?
No, I'm saying we are saying the same thing. You are just we are saying the same thing. The issue is that there is no contact. And I'm sure that day when the boy and the girl visited him, he will have asked, when is the wedding? When is the date? We just want to come. We have not fixed a date. Once we fix a date, we are going to tell you. That may have been a plan
you are going
between
to,
the man.
sorry, sir. We are going to tell you. That's the point here. But you were
No,
saying,
I'm just saying that
with the
that
mother.
is probably what the boy told the father. I'm just, that may be what the boy told the father, that we have not fixed the date yet. We'll let you know, and then we'll discuss it so that we can agree on a date. I mean, that's the kind of language. And so probably based on that, the father is waiting, hoping that he's going to be informed sooner than later. But nothing came. All that he saw was that the mother, led the boy to the altar. I think there are a lot of undercurrents there, which we can just we'll leave to conjectures and postulations there, which
Well,
might not be.
even conjecture or postulations apart, sir, there are things that are open, that are clear here. Okay. And this is why we are discussing, we're having this talk about this issue on this show today. Okay. We don't want to say obviously or not obviously, but we can talk about things that could be read from the situation. Because at the end of the day, we are still talking about the larger society. We are members of that larger society now. You can see now how it has affected us. You can even see that even on this call now, we are almost not on the same, okay, somehow.
We cannot be on the same page.
Agreed,
because we can't be on the same page.
Sir.
Because we are all we have different perspectives and different narratives.
Good, sir. But that's what we are talking. That's what this topic is really all about. A couple cannot afford to operate on different wavelengths. That's what has led to our not talking from the same wavelength here now. That's what this issue is. That thing you do in your family reverberates in the larger society, and not for any good purpose most times. Okay? If you read through the comments in the chat sections for whichever or that, a whole lot of the things have been said. People took side. People have taken side. I'm not taking any side, but we're just looking at, could this have been managed better? Okay, Mrs. Shola, could this have been managed better?
Okay.
Of course, yes.
Richie, thank you. You know, honestly, there are so many, just like Pastor said or Professor said, there are what we call family dynamics. And you know, this is exactly what is causing the societal issues that we're talking about. But there are some things that are, for me, they are generic, they are sacrosanct. No matter your squabbles, I still say it, no matter the problems between the husband and the wife, you know, for the sake and posterity of these children, I think it's better on a day like their wedding day for them to, you know, come together. Let them just, ditch whatever issues that are between them, come together to make sure that child gets the best on that day. You see, I know a couple of people that they had terrible divorce, you know, in their family, and the couple, they had terrible divorce. But on the day of the wedding, I mean, I was so impressed when I saw the parents coming together like nothing happened. Of course, immediately after the wedding, to your tent, O Israel. But for the sake of that day, but you know, the funniest thing is that as a person, and we all know that you cannot give what you don't have. When there are issues like that, you can bring your husband or your wife, whoever, or your ex-husband, your ex-wife, whatever, into the picture when you're planning such a big event that will alter, mar or make the life of your child. Because I see marriage as very, very important because it's divine. Marriage is not an institution of any man. It's not an institution of any government. It's just been hijacked by the government, but it's an institution from God. And if God is the one that instituted marriage, I mean, it's very, very important for us as parents to ensure that nothing tampers with this in the life of the children. Otherwise, you keep having everything in cycle. And that is why we are where we are today in the whole society. Because everything about the family escalates and cascades and seeps into society. That's why we have the kind of society that we have all over the place, because I don't, no matter what, taking the case study that you just gave us, the one that has been trending on the social media. No matter what, the couple to be went to see the father, told them did the normal thing. And for crying out loud, when the time of the wedding day came, why didn't you put him in the picture? Even if you didn't want to have anything to do with him, on that day is his day, for crying out loud. And for me, there's no excuse. And I've said it, and I don't think I'll back down from that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Shola. Let's look at, because our main thing about this topic is not to profile what happened with their family, rather how it reverberates in the larger society. Now we have this new couple. They are now done their wedding, right? People have taken sides. They're going to have their own children and all of that. What kind of seed has been sown? Mrs. Shala, again, I'm still remaining with you.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly my point. Because all of these things, we're talking about posterity. We're talking about the future. We're not talking about the present. Of course, everybody has eaten rice. Everything has been done whichever way they want to do it. But what happens? Do you know that in future, that girl could also face her own backlashes on the fact that your father could not even be at a wedding and all those things. You know what I'm talking about? It's not a good thing. Let's face it. It's not a good thing. And besides, these things have gone into the space, into the public space, with everybody saying for or against or whatever. It's whether you like it or not, it's an indelible mark. It's an indelible mark on that family. Much as they try to maybe cover it, make up, or maybe erase it, it's not erasable, because it's in the public domain already. And that's what we're talking about. When we do things at times, let's look at beyond the now. Let's look at what happens in future. And besides, marriage is a sacred thing. It's not something that should be taken with levity.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Shala. Professor Wale, just, the deed has been done, okay? Yeah, we are where we are. That's the situation now. What can we suggest as remedies to this situation? That we're just using one family. There are several other families that are in that situation. Mine is one. I'm not up for discussion here, and I don't want any biases. That's why I didn't go into giving any other examples with myself and all of that. But what kind of remedy, especially for the sake of the new couple, for the sake of the children, the grandchildren, for instance, most importantly now, what kind of remedies should we be looking at? Professor Wale?
Oh, okay. I thought it's Madam you are talking to.
No, Professor Wale, yeah, it's you, sir. We needed to be sure you are.
It takes two to tango. If all the three, now we have three parties, the man, the woman, and then the couple. It takes two to tango. If they want to resolve it, I think the couple can can bail the cat. That's the son and the wife, and then go to the father, go to the mother, and then either apologize or bring the two of them together, or whatever. But then, if any of them is not ready to, forget the past and then, look at the future, it will be difficult. It will be difficult if any of the parties are recalcitrant to settlement, because the man could say, well, you've done your worst, so what else why are you now coming to me again? Where I'm supposed to be, I was not there. So now you have exposed me and you are now coming to. But then if the man is a Christian, he should be able to easily forgive and forget, and then ensure that.
Hello, sir. It's like we've lost Professor Yowale there. Okay, Professor Yowale was he was saying that he was suggesting as a remedy that the parties should come together, and then a kind of a reconciliatory meeting. Okay, Mrs. Chala, what would be your own suggestion for a remedy in this, especially taking the children into consideration, and then, of course, when people get married, the next thing we are looking at, grandchildren and all of that, taking that into perspective, what kind of remedies should we be looking at in this particular situation? Or any other families that might have this issue, this same kind of issue?
Yeah, before I talk about remedy, I also want to advise parents and whoever is involved in all of these things that we should always count our consequences before we take actions. Because whether you like it or not, there are consequences to actions. I know the harm has been done. There's little or nothing anybody can do, whether it was intentional or unintentional, whether it was to spite whoever or not. However, like I said, the harm has been done. And I want to also encourage the couple, even if the mother, in this case, is not going to take a step, and then we don't know where the pendulum swung, whether it was the children actually said they didn't want their father or whatever, but whatever the case, there has to be a decisive step. The mother, the new couple, and some elders, they need to go to the father and ask for forgiveness. And the father, on his own side, does not want to carry any guilt. When you say that if you don't forgive others, God will not forgive you and the rest of it, then the father is duty bound to also forgive in this case. When the children, the mother, and whoever is concerned, and maybe some other witnesses come over to say they are sorry about it, where it was a gross omission, it was the reason and blah and the rest of it. But I also want to encourage that the father in this case should see beyond what has happened and just forgive. I also want to align with Professor Sarumi on that forgiveness is going to be the ultimate. You see, there are some of I always say something. There's no amount of fighting you fight. You come back to the negotiation table. This is the negotiation table in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Shola. You see, from here, when we were growing up, the saying was that children are the leaders of tomorrow, right? Wrong. Very wrong. The children are leading from today. They are no longer waiting. They're no longer waiting for tomorrow. They are no longer waiting. And by the way, for some of us, when we say children, it looks like we're still talking about the toddlers. Okay, we still talk about the ones that we have to change pampers for and all of that. No. Your children are your children, no matter the ages at which they are at. Okay, so if those of us who, at one of the episodes we're talking about Gen what, and I said no. You see, those are social constructions that we have used now to create further divisions, okay, to break families down the more. People now feel more aligned with those generations to which they have been tagged than their families and cultures and values. And they use those gen whatever characteristics to excuse their misdemeanors. Okay? Misdemeanors in relation to disrespecting cultures, respecting traditions, disrespecting family values and family etiquettes. Okay? So let us understand that the children are not waiting to grow up anymore. They are not waiting to become leaders tomorrow. They are leaders now. They are leaders now. And in case you think that that's not true, go and ask AI. Go and ask the internet. Why would this couple, why would that particular situation have arisen? Okay? People look at things happening around them. They probably have other examples, okay? To say, after all, that person, that didn't happen, the sky didn't fall, and all of that. Before now, remember, please, this is the Slow Parenting Program. Before now, our parents used to say to us, that is them there. That's not us here. That's not who we are. And in that particular situation, the mother could have said, even if it was the daughter that said, look, I don't want my dad, and which would be strange, because why would you have gone to tell him in the first place? Take drink. So it would be strange. So there are the conjectures that are coming up, you know. But even from the part of the mother, whoa, Makubami. Okay? Please don't let my story become longer. Okay? Go and tell your father. Even if she did not want to go. Go and tell your father that this is all. Mail the wedding invitation to him. Because let's not lose sight of what we're discussing, what we've seen on social media. The man said he was not informed of the date and the venue of the wedding. So it's either he's lying, okay? And I have not read anywhere where he said, oh, that's not true, we sent you the invitation. But again, that's also past. We're not talking about here now. Parents listening to us, please. It's not about you anymore. Really. It's not about you. That's why we're saying that there's nothing like leaders of tomorrow anymore. We also used to hear we are the custodians, as in the elders, are the custodians.
Can we disagree?
Go ahead, sir. Please feel free.
I don't buy that phrase that children are not leaders of tomorrow. That saying is still very valid, that children of today are the leaders of tomorrow. And the corollary to that, the opposite of that, is that the leaders of today were the children of yesterday. And so it is important for the leaders of today, it's very imperative upon them to build the next generation, because it confers on them duties and responsibility to ensure that they mold them in terms of their habit, their attitude about life, including education. And so that's the reason why that phrase, children are the leaders of tomorrow, why today's leaders were the children of yesterday. Because what is happening today, the current prevalence among today's children, why they need the leaders of today who are children of yesterday to handle the issue of delinquency, criminality, and quite a lot of juvenile behavior, even among the youth. And so these inadequacies can be traced to the poor brought up by the leaders of today. And so, and because most of these children lack role models and proper upbringing, because the leaders of today, their parents and every other facet of life where they meet leaders, they have been involved in poor parenting. And that's the reason why many of them are neglected, and there is abuse, because there is absence of proper, proper parental supervision, which I believe is responsible for most of what we have seen today and calling juvenile delinquencies. So that's the reason why I would like us to note that today's leader, who are the children of yesterday, they have responsibility under the currency to ensure that they do whatever that is in their power to bring these children up so that they can be able to fit into that leadership cadre which they are supposed to take over tomorrow. So that's my own view about that.
Thank you so very much, sir. And Mrs. Shala, you are nodding. It looks like you want to say something about that before I get back to what I was saying over there.
Yeah, I want to say that the children of yesterday that are leaders of today, they got good nurturing or mentoring. Unfortunately, they are not cascading the same to the leaders of tomorrow. And I don't know, for whatever reason, let's start from those of them that went to very good schools. They were well molded. I mean, you and I are also part of it. We were well molded in our various schools, but how much of the molding are we doing to our children? And you know, there's a saying that you cannot give what you don't have. It's not that they don't have it, but they feel, I don't know, I've asked that question a couple of times. Why are yesterday's children that are leaders today, why are they not giving leadership qualities, cascading it down to the leaders of tomorrow? Why are they allowing them to go on this, what I can call roller skater or whatever move? Why are they allowing them to do it on their own? You know, just internet now, people start teaching them all kinds of things. Why are we not giving the right leadership style to the children of tomorrow? And I think that is the problem that we have that has actually reared its head in this case. Whether we like it or not, we got good trainings when we were growing up, but we're not giving the right trainings to our children. Otherwise, how will the mother, if it's a mother in this case, or whatever, how will the child say, I don't want my father there? And the mother will say, don't worry, I'll walk you. Under what guise, under what situation? You know, so much as I agree with Professor, I also want to say that we cannot give what we don't have. And it's not even that we don't have this training, but I don't know why we are not giving it the right training to our children. And that's why this so-called leaders of tomorrow are just going on their own thing, using their own head knowledge, using the internet to prepare them.
Thank you, Mrs. Shala. See, I am square between the two of you, and I'm still repeating what I'm saying. The leaders of tomorrow are no longer waiting for tomorrow. That's what I mean. they are leading from today. And unfortunately, they are leading from what they have noticed, what they witnessed. And the bigger parent who is the internet. Okay? So they are not waiting. That concept, that's what made me say, look, there's nothing like leaders of tomorrow. They are leading from today. You can now begin to argue that the leading is not right. It's not following. It's not. Now, which perspective would I follow? That's why we're having this discussion here to say that where couples are not team members of the same team, as it concerns the upbringing of their children, the larger society suffers it. Society breaks down. We're here, we've looked at this from different perspectives here. That's the breakdown we're talking about. You could find some other people who will find some much more colorful languages to describe each of the people involved in their own understanding, to suit their own needs, to suit their own mindsets. We are saying to parents that whereas your children didn't have, no, not your children, whereas you didn't have the opportunities and the platforms that your children have today. You see, it's easy to quote our parents, quote when we were growing up. The things available to the children today were not available to us. Okay? We grew up at a time where the television station would open at 4 p.m. in the evening and close at midnight. On weekends, they will open at 12 midday and close at midnight. That's when we grew up, and that's it. There's nothing else. Nothing else. Okay? And then there were censors, but there were institutions that looked at what could be on TV, what shouldn't be on TV, what could be aired at whatever time, what couldn't be aired at whatever time. That's even as far as media consumption is concerned. Now, what about interrelationship issues? That's why we are saying the children are not waiting for tomorrow. They are seeing what you are doing today. We've said this severally on this program. Your children don't want to be that phantom, that mirage you want them to be. They want to be you first and foremost. They want to be you. They are copying you. They are looking at you. Okay? Either positively or negatively, they are looking at the things you are doing, and they are going to mirror the same. Mr. Adewusi has said it earlier, you can't give what you don't have. Now, what these two couples, now what are they got? That it is possible for you to disregard one parent and move on with life, Ojeli. So what are they going to tell any of their child that says that to them tomorrow? After all, your father was not there when you married, so why would you force me to say that person should come to my own marriage? You sown a seed that you cannot kill the fruit. That's the danger. That's the danger. It's not about who is right, who is wrong. It's about prevention. It's about, okay, don't worry, this is our own life. This is how we've lived it. It hasn't gone down well. This is not what we planned. This is not what we looked out for. This wasn't our dream. But unfortunately, this is where we found ourselves. But please, 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 this should not be your story. This should not be your story. Please. Any one of the partners, from any one of them, we've made our own mistakes. Well, let me also tell you why I say they are not waiting to be leaders of tomorrow. Part of the responses you might have in that kind of conversation is, okay, well, Mom, you just told me here now that you made your own mistakes and you are here. So why don't you leave me to make my own mistake?
Make their mistake.
So the point is, why do you have to make your own mistake when you can see that he has not paid somebody else?
Learn from other person's mistake.
Yes, there's a Russian proverb. It says, I think it's in one of my books, the person who wrote the foreword to my book on Biafra. That's why I learned that proverb. It's a Russian woman. It said the wise man learns from other people's mistakes, errors.
Yeah.
But then he said the other kind of human beings want to learn from his or her own mistake, because I don't want to use a foul language or word on my program. Okay, so let's remain with wise. Learn from, sorry, the one reason I didn't marry 2 wives was because my father had 5 wives. We have so many people who can share their experiences in their homes, in their parents, what you learn, what you did. I know I've witnessed everything, and I said no, I will not marry 2 wives. Same reason. I said I'm not going to have more than 3 children. Even the 3 itself wasn't that I sat down and said it's 3. Well, the 3 happened after I said no. It was me. It wasn't a case of there was an accident or couldn't. I was even under family pressure. What's your problem? Why would you stop? I'm like, the ones that are here have not been able to feed them. So what do you mean? You have money? People always equate parenting with having money. Wrong. Okay? Why do you have to want to learn from your own experience? I'm not saying you won't make mistakes. I'm not saying you will make mistakes. Oh, wow. Why? I don't know if any of you have ever gone to stand in front of the mirror and say you. I have several times. And what would I be doing that? I've done something that, like, what's your problem? Why would I want to put that myself through that if I have seen that somebody else had that and I'm like, no, this is not me. This won't be me. Especially now when it comes to the issue of our children. We should be able to say, yes, I experienced this. Unfortunately, some parents get too protective in that area. Okay? To say, oh, well, this is what I passed through. You won't pass through it. In some of those circumstances, they make the mistake of now putting the seeds down that will create the situations and the scenarios they are trying to prevent. Okay? Some comments that we have from some of the posts on that social media, on those, but there were several, okay, that story. Some of the comments is like, well, nothing's going to happen to the couple. They're going to have their happy. I was forced to comment somewhere. I'm like, is there anything in the crystal ball that anybody has looked at now to say how this particular one is going to turn out? It's not a curse. It's not a curse. It's human relationship. But if it was a case of, well, in spite of the fact that mom and dad had their issues, but they were both there, okay? Just like the family that Mrs. Ishola, you're trying to describe to us, you know, that divorced, you said very bad divorce. That one means must have been, you know, fraught with enmities and then, you know, and all of that. Yeah. But they still managed for the sake of, you know, and they shoot the sword and got there. That's what should happen. That's the remedy for those of us remaining. Forget this issue. This one is gone. Okay? When I say remedies, okay, well, this is gone. But please, for couples who you still have children who would, okay, I'm going to get married, and remember, it's not about you. It's not about you. It has to be about the future of the new couple. That will be the time to honestly and sincerely share your own regrets. That's not the time to gaslight anything, to say, after all, I lived, after all, I'm that. No, that's the time to actually tell the truth about how painful it must have been for you to have separated, to have divorced, to have, it's not now to present those scenarios or those situations as if that they are the best thing to happen to anybody in life. They are not, to any of the persons concerned. Okay, so couples, please, you have children, know that that day will come. Those days will come when you might have to take some very hard decisions in spite of yourself. Give your advice, state your position about whatever the issue is. If it's not taken, you see, if those positions you give are not taken, so long as they are not unreasonable, okay? Let people also know what the consequences of. Mrs. Adewusi talked about consequences earlier. Yes, there are consequences. State those consequences upfront. Young man, young woman, you want to take this step. This is not right. This is going to be the likely results you will get. And then you hold your peace. It wouldn't be a case of whatever anybody likes, let them do. No, because you are not the only ones involved in this world. It's not only the two of you. We are here now. What are we discussing? Some families' relationship issues, right? We are now the larger society now that have to be profiling this. And it's a story that's still ongoing. It hasn't ended yet. That couple will have children. And then maybe another chapter of that season movie would also be reenacted. So, Professor Wale, thank you so very much. The issues you raised about the change of batons, because that's what it is, okay? Yesterday's generation, today's generation, tomorrow's generation. If we still come back to teamwork, I was an athlete. I participated at competitions, some fairly high ones. I ran in relay races. And I do know that no matter how fast you are, all of you in that relay team, no matter your speed, no matter your endurance levels, once you are not able to pass that baton to the next runner, you are disqualified. That's very much like parenting. That's very much like generational relationships, or if you like, intergenerational relationship. You have trained, yes, you're married, you're a family, you have children, you have potentials to have children, you get to have children. Now you get into the process of training them. You see, that institution of marriage that Mrs. Adewusi has said is divine, and it is one of the baton passing stages of intergenerational relationship. This was us. We have lived. I've run my own race. Oh yeah, over to you. Take. If we now didn't fuse, in spite of whatever other things, to make that baton passage necessary, the race breaks down. We are out of the race. So, Professor Yole, what would be your closing remarks as we begin to round up on this program, sir?
Very simple. Parents should try to collaborate together for the benefit of their children. Whether they are still married or separated, anything that involves their children, effective collaboration will ensure that they exemplify great work, so that at least the children can know that for their sake, even though their parents are separated, they have tried to put aside their differences and be able to present one front to ensure the realization of their dreams. So generally, I will advise parents to wake up and look beyond their own selfish motives now, and try as much as possible to bring up their children in the way of the Lord and in the way that will benefit family and society. It's not just for them to get good grades in school, have good jobs in the future, so that they can secure their own lives and the sustenance of the parents. No. It should be that they should bring them up so that the children can fit into the world properly. And so I will advise parents to increase their horizon and have a rethink and a panoramic view, so that they know that their children are the next generation and they should be able to mold them very well. Why? Because the future of the society is in the hands of parents. Why? Because if they don't inculcate the right value system in the upbringing of their children, then they will, have allowed the streets to start, forming those children and pushing them up for wrong leadership in the world. So, and that task, I believe, is very holistic for parents, so that they can do it in such a way that they make themselves available and also their time affordable. So all of this will help us to build a society where proper value system is entrenched, so that we can be able to develop the leaders of tomorrow today. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor. You are so aptly put. Mrs. Mrs. Ishola, sorry, Mrs. Adedori. Mrs. Ishola, what would be your, closing comments or remarks on today's show?
Well, it's unfortunate that the children in the scenario that we have just painted or talked about this evening are already in the eye of the storm. And I can only wish them the best, that everything will fizzle out and all that. But aside from that, we parents, we are custodians of these children, whether we like it or not. We are custodians of these children. And God that has given us these children would ask us what we have done with them. But as far as we parents are concerned, these children are like talents in our hands. And it behoves on us to make sure that we properly take care of them and deliver them to the maker, to our maker at the end of the day. Be that as it may, it is not good. I mean, it is so absurd and so wicked for children to be made missiles in the home when the parents are on their war, maybe war path. Children should not be made missiles. It's very, very unfortunate that a lot of children have been made missiles in their own homes. And all of these things cause most of these children to be recalcitrant, to be, deviant, and whatever you may, think about it. go into drugs, go into depressions and all that. But we as parents, we should know that in a situation that warrants that the children should be happy, we should be there, we should sheath our sword and be there for them. For instance, on their wedding day, you know that you are not the only one that gave birth to this child, whether you are the father or the mother. At that point, please, like I want to align with Professor Sarumi, collaborate, cooperate, and come together. After the wedding, you can now go back to your tent. Nobody is saying, but for the sake of that child or the children, it's better for you to collaborate at that point, because whether we like it or not, it has backlashes. And when it comes, you will not be there. The parents may not be there, at that time. They probably are old and gone or something like that. And these children cannot, most of the time, they cannot hold their own, or they ride on the same highway that their parents have ridden. We want to beg the parents, please, these children are supposed to be talent in your hands for you to nurture and bring back to God at the end of the day, the one that has given you as custodian, as overseer over them. We should be careful how we nurture them, because we're going to give account of how we nurture them. And I want to also beg parents, no matter your differences, please don't use these children as ballistic bombs. Don't use them as missiles. Don't bring them into it. Don't rubbish their lives. They have their own life to live. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Ishola. And parents, Mrs. Ishola talked about using your children as missiles, as fodders, as pawns in your relationship games with yourselves, with your partners. Now, I want to end this program by talking to partners, the new would-be partners, planning to be partners. You see, there are trends that have been developing within relationship issues. The case study we have used today is nothing. It's not different. It's not an exemption for what I want to talk about now and in closing. We always feel that we can change people. Please know today that you can't change anybody. That's number one. You can't change anybody. Ms. Adewusi said, you can't give what you don't have. True. So, I'm addressing you now, young couples, male, female. Traditionally, in those days, when people had to go get married, parties are sent by both families to go study the different families, to get to know their history, to get to know specific things about them. That's almost like dead. But there's something that should not be dead to you, the two persons in a relationship that you are thinking, oh, I want to marry this person. And please listen to me and listen carefully. Any woman that would not respect the father would not respect you. Eventually. The same thing. Any man that would not respect his mother would not respect you. So as you are courting, open your eyes. Open your eyes. What do you think would happen with you? You are comfortable to go to take somebody's daughter, and that person was not there and is alive. And then you would have children. What if your wife decides to say, okay, at least you two was my father there at my home? What would you do? So, at some points during marriage counseling classes, years gone by, we used to tell couples, it is better to separate than to divorce. Meaning, it is better for the courtship to be ended than for you to blindly go into marriage and then begin going to divorce. So, there are things that should be outstanding, that should be red flags for you. I will repeat, young man, the person you are courting has a habit of complaining, my father did this to my mother, my father did this to my mother every time, and deciding, walk away. Yes, walk away. You see, that resentment about the father, it will be transferred to you without your doing anything really, maybe, mostly. The same thing, young woman. My mother never took care of me. My mother was not used to cooking for us. She was never there. My mother, walk away, young woman. That same complaining agency will be opened in your name down the road. Look for people who have cordial relationship with their parents. Start from there. It's not everyone, but then it's not everyone that must be your wife, or it's not everyone that must be your husband. You want to build a home. Build correctly, build rightly. Don't build with, no matter how beautiful, no matter how intelligent, no matter how rich, no matter how influential, if those red flags are there, walk away. Walk away. And so, people, thank you so very much for joining us in our program today, the Slow Parenting Program on Nostalgia Media. My name is Richie Adewusi. I look forward to seeing you again next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That time will soon change, but then now it's still 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. We are here on, this is Zoom, but then we are there live on YouTube, okay? And as I'm here talking with you, I'm also following our stream on YouTube, okay? So you join us on YouTube to make your comments, to, make your contributions live on the program on YouTube. I've been having people wanting to join us on Zoom. They get to have the Zoom link somehow, but they want to come in on Zoom. Please, we want you to participate in the program, but please go to our YouTube channel, okay? For production reasons, for technical reasons, we keep the Zoom platform just for our resource persons to come in, make their contributions. But for you, our followers, subscribers, viewers, please join us live on YouTube. And then at the end of the program, you have our videos that you still can go back to on YouTube, or you can follow us on all other social media handles. Or if you check our YouTube channel too, you will see our email address. You can leave us any mails, any messages about any concerns that you might have and the issues of parenting. So we are really, really grateful. Please support us, okay? Support us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, okay? Comment, share, and then don't forget to hit the notification button bell, okay? So that you know when we upload videos about slow parenting programming. So thank you so very much. Stay well. Young couples, don't get carried away with your dating. Keep your eyes open for red flags. Bye-bye.
Parenting is simplicity parenting. Simplicity parenting.
We want to discourage a particular behavior, right? We want to deter that behavior from occurring in the future. And so we apply.
So we are talking about responsibility. We also talking, remember that your children want to be you. They're not talking about that person that's out.
Exceptions to every rule, and no matter the best or the most noble of mirroring that we do modeling, sometimes they veer off. I know that there are exceptions.
Focus on quality time rather than the other type of parenting where you look at